urgency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition. It is September 28th, 2012. And tonight, I am pleased to bring back a guest to my broadcast who should have been back on air with me much sooner. I just get sidetracked and into so many things. And I'm glad that he was able to set aside 2 hours of his night tonight and join me, because it's weird, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes in your life you meet people that you just connect with, and it's like you knew them your whole life. And this guy, that's how things are between me and him. I met him it's over a year ago now, down at the Occupy Miami event, and he was a individual who showed up as his own person, not as a part of Occupy, as I was showing up as my own individual person. And we were just kind of checking things out, and we bumped into each other, and I interviewed him, and I emailed him later on and asked him if he wanted to be on the broadcast, and he did. And it was just some great radio. So I am pleased to bring back to my broadcast, for your listening pleasure, Mr. Jerrald President. Jerrald, welcome back, brother.
Good evening, Popeye, and hello, world. How everybody doing out there?
I know it's been a while, so let's get right into it. Update me. How have things been going since the last time I talked to you?
Everything's been going. I mean, ever since I got to do the interview with you, Popeye, it had a chance to spread my vision or my insight into the world's global conspiracy or economic policies. I've just had a chance to just touch so many and have communication and conversations with thousands and thousands of people all around the planet, Popeye. And I always want to just say, I want to thank you personally for just giving me the opportunity and interviewing me when others, I think, was more reluctant to do the same. And I personally just want to thank you, Popeye, for just giving me this opportunity. But besides that, everything's been going lovely, Popeye. My website is growing. It's truly international. I'm touching bases with so many people across the planet through Facebook and through my YouTube channel. Again, my website is www.jerraldpresident.info. And it's just been a beautiful thing, Popeye. And I want to also thank the people who started the Occupy movement. I really want to thank them for having the vision to try to touch the youth and make the youth understand that this economic cannibal system that we have is engulfing us all. And so Popeye's just been lovely. That's all, Popeye. It's just been lovely.
And I like how you went up to and approached things. That's one of the reasons why I first interviewed you, was because you weren't like to everybody. You know, everybody else down there was blaming capitalism, and you actually were like, no, that's crap. The real reason is the Federal Reserve, this, that, the other thing. You started naming stuff off, and you were just hitting one nail after another right on the head. And there were some people that, in the beginning were they were reluctant to hear that. They wanted more to blame capitalism or blame Wall Street. And what I admired about you was you went down there, you did your thing. You said, look, I'm here to just give the message. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I ain't trying to make anybody join a religion or nothing, And you went down there, you spoke your mind, and if people didn't want to hear it, you accepted that and you moved on. And you figured in due time they would learn it themselves. And you were right, because that led you down your own path, and look where you are today. I mean, I was talking with you off air a little bit, and I think it's awesome that you've had this, your journey has been good. And I know everybody runs in the roadblocks here or there, but to hear that you're in such a positive attitude about it and that things are going well for you, man, that's awesome.
Well, the reason that is, poverty makes you see things in a way, and being oppressed economically makes you see things in a different light than people who are walking around this planet and allowing the manipulators to control them. So if people just took the time for themselves and just stop trying to blame a different ethnic group or point the finger at whoever the president of the United States is, and started thinking of how money is created and circulated and where it comes from, and if they just took just 10 minutes out of their time and just went and visited Federal Reserve Bank or went on their own web page, they will understand that it's a private bank that loans the money to our government. And when they allow them to continue to keep putting interest on it, on top of interest, and the banks borrow the money at 0% interest, if people would just stop, all they do is pick up a newspaper, get off CNN, get off MSNBC, Fox News, go to a library, Google it, go to yahoo.com, go to any of these search engines and start reading the International Monetary Fund's webpage. Go to their homepage. Go to the Bank of International Settlements homepage, and you will see who the true global engineers of this economic system are. But we prefer to watch, Sunday night football and get bogged down with really mundane issues when it's the interest that's just destroying us. It's the interest that's on this money. So, hey, my journey has been a great journey, Popeye. I would never lie to nobody. I've enjoyed the ups and the downs of my life. And there's been a lot of downs, but there's been more ups. And what makes me so positive is that I see the youth. I saw it in the youth's face. And these kids are starting to realize. They go to college and they get this $1 trillion worth of debt slammed on top of their heads. They can't file bankruptcy because Bill Clinton, along with George Bush, changed the bankruptcy laws. I mean, they are feeling it. They are truly feeling it. And they're graduating college. There's no jobs for them. Why? Because they deindustrialized the United States and they outsourced or offshore the entire infrastructure of America. So that's why I'm so positive, Papa, because one thing about poverty, it's making these people see it now.
They're being forced.
They have no choice. But, it was due to the fake prosperity that people believe. It was all debt. It was all, everything, the middle class was debt. There wasn't wealth in people's pockets. It was debt. It was debt. It was artificial debt that people thought they had in their homes. It was all debt. It wasn't real. And now people are starting to realize it after you witness all the bailouts from Ronald Reagan bailing out the savings and loan institutions, or Bill Clinton signing NAFTA, or getting rid of Glass-Steagall. Or George Bush and Barack Obama with the TARP bailout funds. It was all a fraud, but it's always perpetrated on American people. And now people are seeing it. They're seeing it. It doesn't matter which of these parties you vote for. The banking interests have us. 80% of the banks, is six banks, and they control 80% of all the financial transactions in America. 6 banks. So, Papa, if people just took the time just took the time, Google what a structural adjustment program is, and they will understand.
Do you find people in your area are waking up, like the people around you? Because I know the last time I talked to you, you were hitting it heavy and trying to get the people around you awoken, or whatever the frig the word is, to what's going on. And I know you have. I really admire your way of doing it, because you don't get bogged down. I mean, you know all about Charlotte Iserby and the deliberate dumbing down. You know all about all the shady stuff, Bohemian Grove. But when you try to wake people up, you stick to something they can understand, which is their checkbook.
Right,
where it hits them the most. And that's an effective way. So have you seen an uptick in people that are starting to come back to you, and maybe who thought you were nuts in the past, saying, "Dude, you're right. Look, you said this was going to happen."
Yes, Popeye. And I think what it is that's why I named my website "Economics and Politics in the Struggle to Survive in America," because I knew it's not a racial thing, and I try to explain to my brothers, my sisters, and everyone who I come in contact with, it's not a racial thing. These policies have been around for 100 years, and they have incrementally slid them on the American population. And they've always known how to divide us using race or using money. And so they continue throwing these types of issues up. It's not race, people. It's not about complexion. It's not no illegal immigrants coming into America. It's not affirmative action. These are the policies coming from your Chamber of Commerce that's hiding behind closed doors. These policies have been around for so long. And if they just paid attention to what these guys read, get out of Sports Illustrated, quit watching ESPN, tune in to C-SPAN, and you will see who these people are. Those think tanks, the Heritage Foundation, thinkprogress.com, all of these types of institutions are the ones that's pushing and crafting this type of legislation to enslave all of us. So when you sit there and you watch all these states going after pensions and privatizing everything, you always have to think to yourself, why are they getting the money to even purchase this infrastructure? They're getting the money for free. That's why nobody else can tell you who owns Bank of America. No one knows who owns J.P. Morgan. No one knows who owns a bank, because they only show you the chairmen. And so what I was able to do, Papa, was I started showing people the policies, and I just break it down, just simple form, and I would just give a certain paragraph that's taken out of the text of these guys' policies to show people this is a hit job through economic hitman, coming from the International Monetary Fund with the help of the World Bank, instituted by the World Health Organization. But some people don't want to hear it, Papa. But I must say, Papa, I do have the gift of persuasion. I do have the gift. My wife always told me that, so I had to get into it. She always says I have a gift of persuasion, and I always tell her it's not that I'm trying to gain people. It's what I need people to understand, because I can't be out here by myself, Papa. So
you need people. You need to wake up your neighbors and stuff, so that they can then go ahead and exponentially wake up other people too. I mean, what you're doing the right thing. Let me ask you this: when you talk to them and you get into it with them, because you brought up a really good point about the race baiting.
Right.
First of all, I want to know what your take is on the whole. Like, did you see? Was it evident to you what Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton were doing with the Trayvon Martin shooting? How they were trying to rile up the black community and piss everybody off and race bait. And to me, I did numerous shows on it, because it was so evident what they were trying to do. But it's a two-part question. First, what's your take on that? And then second, what do the other people in your community, like when you talk about it, do they get it? Do they see the same thing you do, or do they not? Do they buy into it? Do they drink the Kool-Aid?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I must say Trayvon was my cousin. His mother, Sabrina, is my first cousin.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah, yes. She babysat. That was basically one of my number one cousin. She was the one who babysat us when I was a kid. So his mother, Trayvon was just at our house. What was it? I think last year, the year before, when I had a birthday party for my son. And so that was the last time I saw Trayvon. So Trayvon, that's family. So when you bring up Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, only thing I would say is I'm glad that they was able to shine light on the situation, but I consider those individuals ambulance chasers. Now, I'm not keen on Jesse Jackson because he's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Bingo. That's,
I wish Black America would understand this man is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And if they would just go on the Council on Foreign Relations website, you would see he's a member. So Al Sharpton, I don't know Al Sharpton. Again, I consider him an ambulance chaser too. Now, what I wish people would have paid attention to was the group that pushed the stand your ground laws. See, again, I want everybody in the world to know I am in law enforcement. I do carry my weapon with me. But this stand your ground law is totally different. It allows these, how should I say it, this private group, the ALEC organization, to how can I say this without offending anybody? It allows people to, it allows the evil in people to come out and to give them an excuse to use that weapon on people that they might not feel have a liking to, and it gives them that authority. Now, I'm not for. I'm a pro Second Amendment person. I believe in the right to bear arms.
By the way, I had no idea that you were Trayvon's cousin.
Oh well, you know it's okay. I know. No,
I just don't want you thinking I was like ambushing you or anything. I had no clue.
No, I know you didn't. But see, what this should have shone a light on is just how wicked this system is. You know, and it shows you just how wicked law enforcement can be when they take and think that this person is somebody who's poor just because he's Black and he was shot, and assume because the way he was dressed, he was doing something wrong. Now, Mr. Zimmerman, he was afforded that opportunity to act that way because of these laws that were implemented. And when you look and see what this group that implemented that law, the ALEC organization, ALEC, I talked about that on one of my video blogs the year before this even happened, because people need to understand that this group is going around the United States crafting legislation with your legislators on taxpayer dime to disenfranchise the population as a whole. So I took it as what happened to Trayvon should have been an awakening for the humanity in Americans to realize this can't continue. This can't continue to keep going on. We have to treat each other with kindness. That young man was just going to get something to eat and coming back home. That was it. What Mr. Zimmerman did, he has to deal with that. But when you have a system that it depends on incarcerating the poor and the vulnerable in the United States, you make these types of.
Well, see, that's a great point. This is what happened. Was a lot of people focus on the minuscule, which is I'm not saying him being shot and him dying was small, but if you look at the grand scheme of things, that's the microcosm of it. You know what I mean? The bigger part of it is this. That's just a symptom of a much larger problem. And hey, you know, if I said this flat out when it happened. I went on air and I did. You know, I watched how the media manipulated things and to try to get people. You know, they manipulated it and used it to attack people's rights and for a political football, which was completely wrong. But the one thing there was a huge glaring thing that hit me was the fact that the law, even the author of the law, said, you know what? One of the authors of it, one of the senators that was involved in it, said it doesn't even apply to him. And from what my knowledge of the law, it didn't. Because if he hadn't instigated the situation to begin with, and we don't have to get deep into it because I know it's family and I don't want to, you know, I'm not trying to tug on your heartstrings. You know, I'm your friend. I wouldn't do ambush journalism like that. But my take was that it was used as the political football on so many fronts, and it shouldn't have been. I mean, the media ran with it and made a big deal out of it, and not that it shouldn't have. You know what I mean? People should know what happened, but this should be a wake up call. This shouldn't be used for political gain. It should be a wake up call that we need to stop mistrusting each other to the point where everybody's, I think you're shady and I'm going to follow you around now. And that that instigates look what happens. That turns into a domino effect, and then it goes down, and bam, it turns into something horrible, and then no one wins. So why don't we stop at the beginning? Don't try to attack the symptom. Let's attack the problem so that there is no more issue. So there is more distrust.
Well, what I wish people have taken to see, I look at it as that was Trayvon's gift to America, to make Americans realize these are things that happen every day in America that is never highlighted. But when you have a nation that has never had a moment of peace in this country, there's never been peace in America. I mean, you just think about since its creation, and even to this day, you've never went 10 years in the United States without there being a war. This country has been at war every decade of its existence. So if the country is born in violence, there's no way to escape it unless Americans can take themselves out of their bodies and pay attention to what we're doing. Just think about it. Right now, we have a military bases in 164 countries. A military base in 164 countries. Are you telling me we're at war with 164 nations? No. But we have predator drones dropping bombs on citizens in Afghanistan, Pakistan. They're patrolling the skies right now in the United States. So this anger that we have towards one another, we have to take that out of our hearts, because we are allowing this beast that's growing to engulf and enslave us all. While they're behind closed doors, the group ALEC, with all these political parties, Democrat and Republican, we are in this together with those groups, crafting this legislation to offshore your jobs.
I agree. I'm going to cut us off right there really quickly because we got the break sneaking up on us. So we can get right back into it right where we're going to leave off. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. More with my guest, Jerrald President, when we come back. Remember, he's with us for full 2 hours tonight, so don't go anywhere. So we were talking about symptoms and problems. Symptom of a much larger problem being violence against each other because of ethnic variety or because of religious beliefs or whatever difference you choose to get angry about and attack somebody over, because there's plenty of them. I mean, we kill each other over, whose piece of sand is better, or, who owned it first, or whose imaginary friend is cooler. I mean, when you break it down into layman's terms, that's what we kill each other for. And one has to wonder, really? I mean, this is like the best that we have to offer. I mean, dude, think about how much better this place would be if we would just stop arguing amongst ourselves. You know what I mean? And start showing more love than hate. And it's on all fronts. I mean, that's what foments distrust, and that distrust and that ignorance breeds racism, and that fear breeds hatred, which breeds racism. Because that's where it all comes from. It comes from fear. That is the one thing that all of this stems from. Oh my God. Oh, this person's he's a Puerto Rican. Oh my God, he's a black guy. Oh my God. Or even now you have white terrorists because you had white Al Qaeda. Now it's, oh my God, he's a white veteran. Oh, he's going to shoot up my church. You know what I mean? It's fear on every level to keep everybody separated.
And that's what's so scary is we have to get rid of that fear that's in us. But when you have this nation, the institution of this nation breeds fear and foments fear in the population. They always need a boogeyman to get you to go along with their schemes or their hustles. And it never benefits the majority of the population. It only benefits those that are in with the institution. And whether it's the corporations that's pulling the triggers or it's the politicians that's
allowing this legislation to move forward. It's always this fear, whether you're living on the continent of North America, South America, Europe, Africa, it's always the same groups of people pulling these, and they know how to use certain words to incite this hostile environment, while the rest of the population is impoverished. I mean, truly impoverished. But because they know how to pull at certain people's strings and market this individual or market this woman or this black man or this white man, they know how to market it so good that they know how to just put it on the news or put it on the paper, and they got you. And now we angry.
And they know how to piss everybody off at the same time, too. They know how to piss you off. They know how to piss me off. They know how to piss... Like, if we wanted to look at it like a black and white thing, right? They know how to piss off black people and white people at the same time in the same broadcast against one another. And they know how to play everybody. And it doesn't matter what race, what color, whatever. They'll find a reason to put labels out there. Look, 9/11 truther. That's all-encompassing. Anybody that doesn't believe the official version of 9/11. If you believe that, Wall Street conspired to screw people over, you're a conspiracy theorist. They'll find any label to marginalize people. It goes beyond color and race, and religion. And that's what, people get stuck in the what of things. They don't understand the why of things. My friend Mark Passio and I have talked about this. They don't get it. They get stuck in what? Oh, well, he doesn't like me because he's a white guy and I'm a black guy, or vice versa, or he's a Jew and I'm an Arab, or whatever. They don't get that it's also on a different scale. It doesn't matter if a Jew, an Arab, a black, and a white guy are all standing together. If all four of you believe that 9/11 was an inside job, the government considers you a terrorist. Yeah. So, I mean, look at how we're all connected. People, I don't think they understand it. No. It's a way of, to me, it's a way of, if you look at how connected we are, they label us all so that every one of us is going to be in some group with some other person, right? And not everybody's going to be the same color or look the same or talk the same or have the same religious beliefs. But yet we're all lumped together in these groups. So I guess all that stuff really doesn't mean anything, does it? No, it doesn't.
No. But this is, this is thousands of years of being able to manipulate the population. This is thousands of years of them knowing how. So it's a science with these people. It is a true science. But humanity has to look inside themselves and say, well, why am I allowing myself to be manipulated this way? I just lost my job, and Joe down the street just lost his job. And where did they ship my job? Or they shipped it over to Bangladesh or somebody in Malaysia or somewhere in Southeast Asia. And when those people decide that they want to rise up and they want 5 cents more than 10 cents they paying them an hour, that corporation is going to pack up and move to another place, and they're going to pit that group of people against them. So it starts with us as humans and having to understand we can't allow these invisible forces to constantly enslave our minds and keep us in this mental, because this truly is a mental matrix they have us trapped in. And once they are able to unlock that mental matrix that we're all trapped in, humanity is going to blossom. And that's what I love about having the opportunity to use the internet, which they try to get rid of. But I have the opportunity through the internet to reach so many people to make them understand it's not a racial thing. The same global banks that destroyed America did the same thing in Latin and South Central America in the 80s and the 90s. They did it in the Caribbean in the 80s and the 90s. They're doing it right now in Europe. That's why the people are staying.
Guess what? They don't care about color or anything when you in a FEMA camp. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about color at all. We're all going to the same camp, so guess what?
Yeah. Or we're going to the prisons because it's a private corporation that people who are there listening, you got your internet, type in Unicorn and see what this private corporation is doing. They're inside all the prisons in the United States. Where do you think the jobs are right now? They're inside the prisons, people. They're relocating now. They're bringing them back from they're bringing them back from overseas, and they're putting them inside the prisons. And they're working the people at 23 cents an hour. Americans have to wake up to this. They have to, because we're going to wake up. And besides that FEMA camp,
It's going to be you in there putting these computer pieces together. Why do you think they're raising all the fees for basic traffic citations and violations? Why do you think that's happening? And if you don't pay it, next thing you know, your license is suspended. Why do you think that is? You have private corporation societies, prisons. You have all these global banks across the planet right now conspiring with each other to take you further down. So while people sit and argue about racial issues, you have to stop it, America. You have to stop it, world. It's not about
you just hit the nail on the head with a big thing right there. The prison industrial complex.
Hey, I'm inside it. So I know firsthand. I'm inside it, Popeye. I'm inside.
And they have some of these jails have deals, right? Like where if they have to have a certain percentage, 70 or 80%.
They sign in 20-year contracts with a minimum. They have to have 90% occupancy. So these private prisons, the GEO group, Whacking Hut, formerly known as Whacking Hut, you have this unicorn gang of crooks. Now, they're owned by banks, so don't get it wrong when I say these names. They're owned by banks. These are owned by J.P. Morgan Chase. They're owned by Bank of America. These are who own this private prison industry. So, again, when I say I'm inside of it, so when you see they keep incarcerating people who look like me, what do you think is going to happen to the rest of society? Because once those jobs are going in your community, and next thing you know, all those fees for you turning that red light, or you running a red light, or you not stopping at that stop sign, now you got a speeding ticket, or you're not paying that child support, or you did something, like these debt prisons that's popping up. Where do you think they're going to go? The jobs are going to be inside the prison. 3 meals a day, free health care. I mean, it's the cheapest form of labor. So we continue to keep allowing this to happen to certain segments of the population. The chickens do come home to roost. That's a famous quote by Malcolm X. But the chickens are coming home to roost. That's why these private prisons, these private corporations are inside the prisons, because they know that's where the labor force is at right now. You call these 1-800 numbers for your credit card. You're not calling India no more. You're calling Jordan's inside some prison somewhere in Kansas. And the population of the people is no job, so they're going to work inside the private prison where they're getting paid $10 and $12 an hour with no health care and no retirement. So Americans have to stop allowing this to happen to them. I got a funny thing I'll tell you, Pop. Football come on this weekend, and I happen to turn on the news on regular channels, just channel surfing, and I'm watching Paul Ryan, who's running Mitt Romney's vice president, person going to run for vice president, and he's talking about how the real refs need to come back. And then I see President Obama at the same time tweeting the NFL refs and the NFL, they need to come to an agreement. So I sat there and thought to myself, I said, wait a minute, Mr. Paul Ryan, he's all about privatizing every industry. But when it came down to his Green Bay Packers losing the game, he thought that was important to mention to his constituents. And for President Obama, who's the President of the United States, who didn't intervene with those teachers in Chicago, didn't intervene because his buddy Rahm Emanuel is the mayor. Oh, let's go and bust them up. And I don't want people to get this twisted. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm just a party of me. And I don't believe in neither one of these people. And that's what Americans have to stop. The Republicans don't care about you because they're going to privatize your jobs and not give you any type of benefits with these corporations. And then the Democrats are going to tell you they're going to do X, Y, and Z. And they're the ones signed in the law after Bill Clinton. And got rid of all the regulations on the bill. Regulations on the banking industry, courtesy of Bill Clinton. So we got to remember, these people are the same. They are the same. They're not going to help you. Only person that's going to help us in America is...
Jerrald, you're coming in a little bit broken up. I'm going to reconnect you really quick.
You hear me now?
Yeah. You sound. The connection sounds a little bit better. You probably just lost the Skype connection. You broke up for a minute there. Go ahead and repeat what you just said.
No, I'm saying... What neither party cares about you. They don't care. Again, President Obama, President Bush, both got the TARP funds, and they bailed out the banks. You have President Bill Clinton, who got rid of Glass-Steagall, the Glass-Steagall Act that prevented the banks from doing what they did with these crazy derivative bets and mortgage-backed securities and credit default swaps. They don't care. They have bankers all around them. All you have to do is just go look in Europe, look in France, look in Italy, look in Greece. These guys were taken over by bankers. Goldman Sachs, that's who took over those countries. These prime ministers of these countries that's running Europe right now, they were bankers. Who do we have right now running for president? Mitt Romney. Where is he getting all this money from? The private Federal Reserve that allowed him to do what he did. What is president? Who is his number one contributors? The banking industry. They don't care about you. And once Americans realize these people are playing this cloak and dagger, this move the ball around underneath the cup, they will be conscious. They don't care. They're going to take our pensions, which are already gone. The 401k plan is gone.
Are the cops waking up, or are they starting to see it, or no?
Well, I'm gonna say this: courtesy of Rick Scott, our famous governor down here in Florida, I think that was awakening to these individuals. Now, you still got a lot of those guys that, because of their so-called patriotism and they believe in this Republican mantra, and they can't see themselves vote for a Democrat, which I agree with them. They shouldn't be voting for a Democrat. You find you're an independent, or you run yourself. But when Rick Scott went after the pensions in the state of Florida and tried to privatize the entire prison industry, I think it woke them up. But this
is the same Governor Scott, by the way, that made it mandatory for all state employees to get drug tested, and then pushed for welfare, people on welfare to get drug tested, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, that's such a great idea." Yeah, except for the fact that him and his wife own the largest conglomerate of piss testing companies.
Yes.
So who directly benefits from him signing that executive order? Himself.
But again, this is a guy who defrauded the federal government. He defrauded Medicare. He stole billions of dollars. Billions. The man paid a $1.2 billion fine. He didn't go to prison. He paid a fine. Now, Popeye, had you defrauded the IRS and didn't pay them properly, either they're going to garnish your wages, or they're going to confiscate all your property and your assets, like they do the little drug dealers that's roaming the streets of the United States. They confiscate all of your assets. The house you bought for your mama, confiscated. Rick Scott, nothing was confiscated. Nothing was confiscated.
Yeah, how effed up is it that these people that run these CIA drug running operations, right? They don't lose their houses, but if some kid gets caught slinging drugs, and they
gave them that. Don't forget. Don't leave that out, Popeye.
Yeah, that's true. But the CIA did a lot of people don't realize that. I get into this argument with people. I say, crack was introduced. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact that crack was introduced to the black community because cocaine was considered the rich man's drug.
It was,
but crack was much cheaper, and it was marketable, and they really needed something like that. They needed a way to. It's a way of control. Simply put, it's a form of control. They did it to the white community. That's what cocaine was for. Okay, mm-hmm. I mean and the CIA makes tons of money off of It's a double-edged sword in their favor on both ends, because not only do you get screwed with your government is using your money to run drugs in, but then they're getting you hooked on the same drug, or your kids, or your brother, or a loved one, or a friend. So they're making money on both ends. You know what I mean? And you're getting screwed on both ends by them. You have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and realize what the hell is going on. And yes, crack was, it was not made by some junkie in an alleyway going, man, I could take. Well, suddenly the guy has an epiphany and he comes up with a chemistry formula to convert cocaine into crack rock. I don't think so. Okay, I just don't think so. That's not the way it works.
See, that's the beautiful thing about the internet. And that's why I love when I created my website. I put on the Iran-Contra affair, the live video of them of the congressional testimony by Oliver North.
It's congressional testimony that the United States government brought this drug in. But when you mention that, people always think it's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy and it's not a theory. It's the fact. But now Oliver North is a darling of the Republican and the Tea Party group. But people, I'm going to say this, Papa, what's sad is how they manipulate both of them, because you have the Tea Party guys who, I understand what they're talking about, because I carry the Constitution with me. Anybody who's listening that knows me knows wherever I go, I always had a Constitution with me. I carry it with me because I want people to understand what the constitutional rights are. Now, if people really understood that these are tactics used by these Council on Foreign Relations and the United Nations in collusion with our Chamber of Commerce, if they really knew that it's these people who are manipulating and pulling these strings, it will be anarchy in the streets. It will be a revolt. That's why they need to continue to prop up the prison industrial system, which I benefit from. But the sad thing is, the Oliver Norths, the people who espouse this small government theory, there never was a small government on this planet. There's no such animal. From the Egyptian Empire to the Roman Empire to the British Empire, where they said the sun never set on the British Empire, to the American Empire. Yes, America, we are an empire. The game is set up for these people, and they use that. Again, the police, the judge, everyone eats off of poor blacks and poor Latinos and poor whites. They eat off them.
Yeah, the rich never go to jail, dude. You never
No, they don't.
Look what happened, and I hate to bring up Paris Hilton or these bimbos, but look what happens with these starlets who have hundreds of thousands of dollars laying around to piss away on anything they want. If you, me, or anybody else that of regular working blue collar working class, doesn't matter. Now it doesn't matter what color you are, because everybody, if you're middle class, we're all targets now. Anybody that is middle class and below, they want your money. They don't go after the rich. They always fleece the people that can't afford it. But you never see Paris Hilton. Did she really spend any time in jail? No. Did Britney Spears, or not Britney Spears, the other one, Lindsay Lohan, did she spend... Okay, she went back and forth between court and jail or whatever a couple of times because she probably pissed the judge off, and that makes the judge look bad. So the judge has to do something. But I mean, do these kids? They're not even kids. These adults spend really any time in jail? No. But you'll see some guy getting caught smoking a joint or smoking a blunt, and you're gone. You're in jail. I mean, there's a woman that's in jail for like 5 years because she sold $30 to $31 worth of weed, first offense. And yet you'll have, people like pedophiles, and they go, oh, well, it's too dangerous in prison, so we'll let these people out early. And then they live under, like down here, they live underneath the bridges and stuff.
Yeah. Well, when you have the 24-hour news cycle that constantly perpetuates the myth of the crime that's in America, the United States has 315 to 320 million citizens in America. But yet they show you a perpetual loop of either this young black kid who done did something, or these hillbillies in the mountains or the Arzacs cooked in some lab in the house and blew up, cooking meth. It's always, that's not the real criminals in America. Those are the poor people that's just young entrepreneurs. What about the banking institution? What about the LIBOR scandal that these 16 banks get to collude and manipulate interest rates globally to the tune of 800 to a quadrillion?
But don't worry about that. Don't pay attention to that, dude. Look, Dancing with the Stars is on tonight. Okay, and it's going to be really exhilarating. You're going to love the episode, I promise. So don't pay attention to what's going on, Jerrald, because if you do, you might get a little pissed off that you're being fleeced like nobody's business. We got the top of the hour break sneaking up on us. So, ladies and gentlemen, or excuse me, the bottom of the hour break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back in about 7 minutes. So go get your coffee, go do whatever you got to do. Make sure you're back for hour number 2 with my guest tonight, Jerrald President. I want to get more into the prison industrial complex. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. It is Friday, September 28th, 2012. Do not forget, I now do Monday nights as well, so it's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time, and then Sundays, 5 to 7 Eastern Standard, right here on OrionTalkRadio.com. All right. Hanging out with me for hour number 2 is my guest tonight, my special guest, Mr. Jerrald President. And just in case you don't know, Jerrald is a local activist. He does have his own website and YouTube channel, and I'm going to make him give himself shameless plugs really quick before we get back into it, because I want to get back into the prison industrial complex. Jerrald is what I would consider somewhat of an expert on it. As you heard, he is a law enforcement officer, yet he is a law enforcement officer who is awake. So you can see that not as often as I come on and showcase bad cops and showcase things when they do bad things, I also know police officers. I've said I know people that are law enforcement officers. Jerrald is one of them, okay? And he's not a bad guy. He understands what's going on. So I bring him on because it's important for people to understand. I mean, he comes on for a ton of reasons, but one of the most important things I think people can take away from it is you can see that there are people that are in the system that are awake and that are actively trying to wake others in that same enslavement system. Because at the end of the day, none of us are enemies. They want us to hate police. They want us to hate each other. They want us to find, again, that's just another difference that they find to make us hate each other and want to hurt each other. When in reality, we're all in the same little fishbowl. It don't matter.
Don't matter. And you're right, Popeye. It doesn't matter. Again, when you have private corporations, the unicorns of the world, the GEO, ex-Wacking Hut. These guys are owned by J.P. Morgan and Bank of America. This is who owns these private prisons. So when you turn around and you sit there and say, well, damn, what happened to the little talk center that we have that they shipped overseas? Well, it's inside of a prison. Or the computers that when you hit the keyboards. It's inside of a prison.
So, when you call HP right now, and you say and I'm not saying HP, let me rephrase that because I don't know if HP is one of the companies. I don't feel like getting sued. So we'll make up some fictional PC company. We'll call it, I don't know, IT. That's the fake for the rest of the night. That's the fake computer company, and say IT suddenly stops having people in Pakistan on the 800 number, and you go, oh, it's so, you make a comment like, oh, it's so nice to have someone that speaks English or an American back, on the telephone, and you don't realize that you're talking to a literal slave inside the prison industrial complex, right? I mean, that's what this has become. It's become privatized slavery, correct?
Well, what the thing is, if anyone, people who's listening to it right now, Google 13th Amendment to the Constitution, and you will see written inside that, which the 13th freed the slaves. Inside of the text, it says you can have involuntary servitude in America if you committed a crime. So it's been on the books. It's in the Constitution to do this. So I might be going a little bit deep for the audience now. But what I want people to be aware of is it's in the Constitution that allows for this to happen. Now, the private prisons, well, they're just taking advantage of this constitutional agreement.
It's a backdoor that they have, and they can get in and they can take advantage of it. And it's the right to contract yourself out, basically. And that's what happens. I mean, when you sign a parking ticket, when you sign anything, you get royally screwed.
Again, that's why I say that's why I love having a platform that I have, because I try to enlighten people, make them understand we're all slaves, we're all debt slaves, and we're all enslaved through this monetary system that is just spinning circles around us. So the prison industrial complex is just another microcosm of this predatory system we have in America. But it's not just an American thing; it's all in Europe. It's in South and Central and Latin America. It's in the Caribbean.
It's a predatory system set up by these manipulators. And we constantly feed into it. Yes, I know. People probably saying, oh, well, they committed crimes. Yeah, people do commit crimes. Everybody, every day who's driving a vehicle is committing a crime because I'm pretty sure they're going past 55 miles an hour. So I'm not talking.
Well, there's so many damn laws now that it doesn't really even matter
because it's a scheme.
Well, red light cameras. I mean, down here, you know, because you're in Florida.
Yeah, I'm dealing with it.
They're ruled illegal. They already said that you can't use cameras. There's a law that says you can't use cameras to give tickets and stuff. A cop has to see it. So what happens? They put these red light cameras up, red flex, and then a police officer in that local municipality reviews the pictures and the tapes and stuff. Now, how many more accidents are there because of this? If you look, you'll see there's actually been more accidents because of these cameras than before they were here. And that was the justification for the camera. But then when you find out that towns like, I think it was Aventura, they have one camera alone that cleared them over close to $1 million. There's one camera.
And they're ran through private companies.
Yeah, I think it's the one company I know that runs most of them is this company called Redflex out of Arizona. I mean, they're not even in this state. It's just dude, it's like, look at 95. For people that don't know, they took part of 95 down here, okay, which was an open highway for years and years and years.
It was financed by taxpayer money.
Yeah, but very good point. Bought already and paid for by taxpayer money, right? And then the state decides that they're going to take this chunk and they're going to give it and lease it for 99 years to a private Spanish company. This very same private Spanish company that's buying up roads all over the world, all different toll roads all over the place. Okay, Florida is not by itself, so this affects everyone. And they're buying up these roads, and then they use the state's infrastructure, the what is it called, the Sun Pass, which is like if you live up north, it's like an Easy Pass. It's that electric toll transponder thing. So, which by the way, they admit they can track you away from the toll booths. So it's not just when you go through. Oh, they know they can track you because of that thing.
They also how fast you're driving too.
Do they really?
Yes. See, again, you got to remember, they know how long it takes to go from point A to point B.
And the newer ones, you notice, all they are is a little barcode, and it can read the barcode. Like they have ones now that you can get at Publix. I've seen they're just like this tiny little thing, and it's got a barcode on the back of it, and then whatever else, the transponder inside. But it's super tiny. It's like the size of a credit card, dude. And they can track you with that. I mean, that's creepy enough. I didn't know that they could tell how fast you were going with that thing.
Popeye. That's why they have them in all the streets. So they know from point A to point B, if the speed limit is 15 miles an hour and you got there in, say, 5 minutes, come on, man. That's how they're going to pass it down next. That's the next phase that's coming. It's an incremental, slow death on all of us. But again, that's why I say I love to deal with the economic side of everything, because it's all about economics. And they use the police officers to enforce the heavy hand of these private global banking institutions, because they can't do it. So you starve the community and the local municipalities because people don't have any jobs. So you starve them. So they have to figure out some kind of way to come up with the revenue. Or you have the state saying, well, we're not going to raise taxes. So what they do is just do incremental slow death on all of us, and they increase all the fees for everything. They increase fees, and then they start firing firefighters. So they lay them off.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that there aren't. This isn't a when it gets down to the economics, it's not an issue of, well, this cop's a bad cop or a nice cop. It doesn't matter. No, the point is what they do is they go in and they'll decimate. See, the ultimate goal for the police departments, one of the reasons why they get the people so pissed off against their local police, they're severing that connection between the people and their police departments and the sheriff's offices for a reason, a multitude of reasons. Everybody's like, yeah, so the cops can round people up. No. That's actually, I mean, that could be a scenario, but the bigger picture is they want to consolidate all these police departments and sheriff's departments into one national police force.
They've already done it. They've already nationalized the police force. It's already nationalized.
I mean, I'm just being honest with you, Popeye. It's nationalized. It's local and name only. It's nationalized. If they don't implement these schemes that's coming from the Chamber of Commerce and the Council on Foreign Relations, see, again, this is not coming from your Congress. They gave up the sovereignty of the United States once they got on this Federal Reserve monetary system. Once we went on the Federal Reserve monetary system, the sovereignty of the United States was gone. So Tea Party, my Tea Party brothers, my liberal brothers, my conservative friends, the sovereignty of the United States was given away once they brought us into the fold with the Federal Reserve system. And now they're doing the same thing in Europe with the European Central Bank system. So you would say that the full I mean, I know that they're militarizing, but would you say through like the DHS training and all that stuff that they've pretty much standardized everything? So, you know, the propaganda that a police officer is fed in Kansas is the same propaganda that you guys are going to hear here.
It's already done, Popeye. Again, it's the incremental approach. You don't cut off the whole head, or you don't drain the whole body. You hit parts. You know, you take off a piece here, you take off a piece there. And before you know it, the whole body gone. And that's what they've done. It's done incrementally, where you don't see it. You know, again, think about it. They made you think that the charter school system was going to be a win-win for everyone. But what came after that? They broke up the teachers' unions in the United States, especially all around the United States.
And Jerrald President warned about the charter school system. And then look, we just talked about this during the break. Look what happened down here. For people that don't know, I think it was in Broward, if I remember correctly, there were 3 charter schools, and there's more than that, but there were 3 charter schools in Broward County, Florida, that just recently closed. But all the money they got from the taxpayers and stuff, and from the state, where'd that money go? Oh, well, it went somewhere, but no one's getting that back. The schools closed, said there was lack of enrollment. That was why they closed, and maybe there was. I mean, if there really was lack of enrollment in charter schools, that's a good thing because charter schools are bad. Again, if you don't understand, you can go listen to my interview with Jerrald President in the archives because she'll explain it to you there, and then go read her book. And there's a link to her website right on the front of Federal Jack. Just go to federaljack.com, right side, scroll down. You'll see the deliberate dumbing down of America, and just click on that, and it'll take you to her website, and then you can download her ebook for free. She gives it away.
And it's not an opinion. She's not giving you an opinion. She is giving you congressional records.
Well, look what she said, dude. She said they were going to get rid of textbooks back in the 80s, right? And people were like, oh, you're crazy, right? When she first started coming out, everybody thought people made fun of her, laughed at her, right? Now look. Go read her book and then tell me that what she said didn't come true. Go look at what she started talking about a long time ago. Look what's happening now. Yeah. iPads and computers instead of books. And then what do they do with the computers? They're spying on these kids, man.
They did it in Philadelphia. The whole school district was spying in people's homes. The entire school district was spying on the little kids. And the only reason anybody ever found out because they tried to suspend the little kid. They thought the kid had drugs on the table and it was some candy. That's the only reason. Did you think anybody went to jail? Nobody went to jail. Not inside of your home. But that's why I say people have to get off of watching this reality TV stuff and thinking that watching the NBA or Major League Baseball or NASCAR is all to distract you from what they are doing to you. Again, I'm not for taxes. I don't believe that we should be paying any taxes. I believe that the Federal Reserve banking system, if you're not going to abolish it, it should be nationalized. And then the other 12 banks that's from the Federal Reserve system should also be nationalized. And that money should be given to the states so they can operate it. So they don't.
Well, think about it. If we nationalized it, dude, that would end the problem of the national debt because then we would owe the debt to ourselves.
Hey, Pop, I stumbled on this article from 2007 where it was talking about there was 516 global derivatives being circulated through the world. And I thought about it. I said, wait a minute. If the world's economy is maybe 50 trillion to 60 trillion, and you have the global derivative market, which a derivative to the rest of the world is just
bets that only hedge fund operators, hedge fund managers, and global banks can participate in. 516 trillion. And I remember reading an article, and then I said, well,
516 trillion. I mean,
yeah, if anybody's listening, all they had to do was type in 516 trillion global derivative market.
Dude, that's ridiculous.
2007, Bloomberg.
516 trillion. I mean, that's an astounding number, dude.
Popeye, that was in 2007. 2008, the economy collapsed. People think that the TARP bailouts went now. See, this is what I'm talking about now, Popeye, is really stuff that can get me in a lot of trouble, you know, and because these articles that people don't pay attention to because they don't read those types of articles. They don't watch the financial news networks, and they don't think that a regular Joe Blow is sitting up peeping their game. But again, 516 trillion global derivative market / Bloomberg 2007. And you're going to read the article and you say, well, a year later, the economy collapsed. Why? Because the banks came due the following year. They had to make the interest payments on that 516 trillion.
And don't forget that also when the Taliban, and this is just an example, but of how the drug trade affects the economy. When the Taliban came in and they started screwing with the opium trade,
it's forbidden for them to cultivate a poppy seed.
Because the global banking system itself took a hit. I forget what article it is, but it might have been by Michael Rupert, but it was an article I read a couple years ago, probably about 2-3 years ago now. I got to look it up and see if I can find it. But it explained, I'm sure one of the listeners will be able to find it. It was explained basically how much cash I think it was the World Bank or somebody calculated how much cash flow. Maybe it was the UN, but somebody calculated how much cash was in the drug trade alone, just cash flow alone. The number was effing unimaginable, dude. And when you realize that if the drug trade takes a big hit like that, like we always say, end the war on drugs, legalize or whatever, or decriminalize, whatever. Decriminalize, by the way, is the better way to go because legalize just means that they would sit and they would end up, doing what government does best, and they would end up destroying it. But you realize that if they can't sell their drugs, dude, these huge banks aren't going to be able to get away with what they get away with.
It was propping up the banking institutions. It's propping up. Look at Wachovia. Wachovia, what was it, 2005? They got caught laundering $300 billion of Mexican drug cartel money. $300 billion. They was given a slap on the wrist and said, don't do this for 1 year and the charges will be dropped. I didn't say 300 million people. I said 300 billion.
Yeah, and Martha Stewart gets in trouble for $230,000 worth of insider training, and she actually goes to a federal prison, and they try to skewer her and make an example out of her, right? And yet that's acceptable. That's okay. I mean, and not to mention all the other crimes they do. I mean, look, the list is too friggin' long. But the point that we're making is, if Jerrald went and him and I got together and we were like, dude, let's go rob the 7-Eleven, right? And we rolled up and we robbed the 7-Eleven and we walked out with $200. Him and I would go to jail for years.
Yeah.
Years. And we would be slaves, dude. We would be used as slaves. Yet,
unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. Yet these scumbags who actually rob people of of any money that they've saved up over their lifetime. People have committed suicide because of their the money they've lost. They've lost everything. I mean, go look it up. You'll see people blowing their brains out in the middle of highways and stuff. It's horrible, dude. It's just absolutely horrible. And why? Why?
I just want to say this one thing, Papa. I want the world to know. The number one thing is I'm a former soldier. I'm a patriot. I love America. But what I don't love is the curiosity in our minds to not search out the truth. And I'm not saying what I'm giving you, America, and what I'm giving you, world, I'm not giving you an opinion. That's why I say when I recite these words to you, you have the access through the internet. Google some of this, what me and Papa are talking about. And if you just Google it, you'll understand. This is a structural adjustment program that's being instituted globally. The people
taken to the streets in Spain, there's a reason why they take them to the streets. The people in the United States are eventually going to take to the streets.
Oh my God! Have you seen what's going on over in Spain, dude?
But of course, when you steal people's money and then try to make them think that because, again, this is the global derivative market I'm talking about. See, the rest of the world doesn't understand what this derivative market is, and they try to make the rest of average people think this is something that you can't explain. It's a bet. It's a bet between two parties. But what these guys can do is make a bet for every $1 they have, they can make a bet of $100. So for every $1, it's $100. These guys, the debt is not real. The Chinese boogeyman is not real. The global derivative market is what these people are trying to save. And it was courtesy of Bill Clinton when they, after they got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act, it was courtesy of Bill Clinton with Robert Rubin, who went on to work at Citibank. These guys put that in there so it would never be regulated and you would never know. $516 trillion in 2007. Right now, Popeye is at $2.3 quadrillion. And they are going to take that from the Social Security. They're going to take it from Medicare. That's why they're going to keep taxing the people in the United States.
They're going to keep raping the poor. That's what they're going to keep doing, dude. They're going to keep raping the shit out of the poor. That's all they do well. All right, I'm going to cut us off because we got a break sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Bottom of the hour. We'll be back in a few minutes. Final segment. Go check out Jerrald's website during the break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Final segment of tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. My guest, Jerrald President, is hanging out with me. Jerrald, plug yourself. Shameless plugs. At least one more time. Go ahead. Give them out. And then I want to get into solutions. So go right ahead.
All right. My website is www.jerraldpresident.info. // You can reach me on Facebook at just Jerrald President. It's JERRALD President, like the President of the United States. I have a lot of friends that's on there, and I interact and have conversations and chat with everyone who hits me up. Also, you can check me out on my YouTube channel, which is just Jerrald President, one word. And you can watch my videos. You can check out my interviews. And that's basically it. Again, www.jerraldpresident.info. And that's where all policies from the United States government, the European government, all global institutions worldwide, especially the Bank of International Settlements that runs the planet, I have all of those links and there are documents on my website. Thank you, Popeye.
You do a good job, by the way, Jerrald. Again, it was a breath of fresh air when I was down there at Occupy when I first met you, because you were down there. There was a lot of people that were, a lot of well-intentioned people. They say, I don't like to make fun of the people that showed up to protest, because there were some instigators. We talked about that before. There were people that were trying to lead people astray or down the wrong path or whatever, and everything else. But a lot of the people that showed up were there because they were generally pissed off and they had a grievance, and I wouldn't want to marginalize anybody by making fun of them. And when I say that there was a lot of brain dead people there, I'm not making fun of them. We were all brain dead at one point. But it was good because what happened is over the past year that I've noticed, and I don't mean this about any one Occupy movement in particular, some of them were some of them just were complete shams from the get-go. Some of them were just a bunch of idiots to begin with, and some places it was just a couple people that were, they're all idiots, and they'd rather believe whatever they want to believe, that it's just, there's no global conspiracy, there's nothing, it's just a couple guys on Wall Street that screwed everybody. Okay, fine, believe that. Everybody, you were not going to reach everybody, but the main group of what I saw down there were people looking for answers. They were looking for solutions to things. People weren't just showing up like the media said, oh, it's just a bunch of hippies. They went and found all the people that they could make look bad. And there were people there that were, at different Occupy events, smoking pot or drinking or doing stupid stuff. But I mean, let's be real. There were also just as many people, if not more, that were there looking to see if there was at least somebody there that was offering some sort of solution or some sort of answer. And over the course of time, I've noticed that a lot of people that at first might have been misguided and thought, oh, it's just Wall Street or it's just this or that or the banks, they're starting to realize that there's more to it. Now people are starting to learn about Monsanto. They're starting to, so there is some good coming out of it. And I'm not saying that maybe it wasn't originally the first, people were like, well, it was Soros funded, perhaps. But the point is, it was used as a vehicle to help wake people up. And that's what we need to do. We need to stop always looking at the negative. I mean, you have to look at the negative side of things. You have to piss in the cornflakes. Believe me, that's my job, is to piss in everyone's cornflakes and make you see reality. But we do have to offer solutions as well. We have to show you some positive things too, because I think it's just as important to focus on the good things as well as the bad things. And look at you, man. I look at you as a prime example. You are in the system, yet you are actively trying to wake others in the system up. I mean, you put your neck on the line by A, stepping out in the public, B, talking about this on my radio show, C, having a website, and then to top it off, you actually go and talk to other police officers and you conversate about this. I mean, that takes, look, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass either, but that takes a set of balls, because in this day and age, everybody's so paranoid. You say the word conspiracy or anything, you start to get whispered hushes about you. And then, all of a sudden people are pointing fingers, and the next thing you know, you got a black bag over your head. So, and you're in some mental institution. I mean, that's that aura that's being that's being built around everybody, that fear, be afraid. So it takes a lot of courage to do what you do. Do you see the different people, like different police officers waking up and saying, wow, Jerrald, you were 100% correct? Or do you see more of them going, yeah, well, I don't care because I need a paycheck?
You see some. I would say the majority woke up because now they're realizing they have children. That's why I say, Papa, that's why I named my website Economics and Politics and the Struggle to Survive in America. It's because these people now have children and they're realizing, wait a minute, my pension is gone, my health care benefits are gone, this 401k plan, this 401k scheme that they put me in without my say-so is going to prop up Wall Street banks, and now my son is going to, or my daughter coming out of college with $1 trillion worth of debt on top of her head or his head. Well, they're going to work. Now my daughter got to come back home. Oh man, now the budget cuts are coming down and I might lose my job. That's what woke them up, Popeye.
The school's a big thing, man. The school debt. I mean, these kids are coming out of school now.
They'll never get out of it, Popeye.
No. I mean, I thought it was bad when I was 17 grand in debt for when I went to trade school. I was trained to be a diesel mechanic, and I also did I took classes on I already knew a lot about regular auto mechanics, but I took classes on that, and I also got my refrigeration mechanics license while I was there. So I owed 17 grand as a student loan, and I thought that was end of the world, crushing. Oh my God, I'll never pay that off. And yet I see people coming out of college, dude, with like 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I thought back in the day, $200,000 was huge for school debt. I'm seeing people come out with $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 in debt for school because they went to college. 18 different universities over the course of time. They spent like 11 or 12 years in college doing different things. They come out with a PhD in astrophysics and then they can't get a job. You know what I mean? Like, and then you find, yeah. Dude, I went to school with a bunch of people. They went to school for 4 years and got a degree in liberal arts or whatever. And I used to bust their chops and say, oh, you need and I didn't have a degree at all, but I was like, that you wasted so much money on your degree for nothing. Yet now it's like any degree is like that. I'm not bashing anybody that tries to educate themselves, but you go to school for 4, 8, 10, however many years you go to school for, right? You put yourself in debt up to your nuts. And then and if you don't have those, then maybe up to your eyeballs. That's more accurate because it's much deeper, right? So you're all the way up to your eyeballs in debt. And what happens? You can't even get a job.
No.
You can't even, my sister-in-law is an archaeologist. Literally, she's a trained archaeologist. This girl, she knows her stuff. She really is. When it comes to, I mean, Therese is an all-around awesome chick, but she knows her stuff when it comes to archaeology. And guess what? She can't, because she's got some medical issues. She can't do her job anymore. So now what happens? Life intervenes, and now she still has to pay that student debt that she has. So what happens to her now?
Well, you know what's going to happen to her. That's why they got this prison industrial system set up for her. Or she can go work at Walmart and be a greeter.
Well, you know what? Thank God she's a smart. She's one tough cookie, and she's a smart lady, and she excels no matter what she does. And she just found herself in other positions. Luckily, my sister-in-law's she's very good at applying herself. And
right.
But she went to school. She loves archaeology. She went to school for it, and she can't do it. And then, in her case, it's because of a medical reason, but she still has to pay that debt back. The bank doesn't say, oh, I don't care. So she still has to go out and get a job of some sort to pay off that debt.
See, that's why I love the path that I've walked, from my time in the military to my 14 years working at Publix warehouse in Deerfield to now being inside of law enforcement. And the people that I've had an opportunity to come in contact with of all races. And the number one thing I always notice is everyone was scammed. It was a scam perpetrated on us, through this system. But I always say we have to blame parents. I'm going to give you this scenario. I'm going to give you this thing. Come Easter in the United States, we're going to have so many families have their children going outside looking for Easter eggs. Now, the parent knows inside her, in his heart, bunnies don't lay eggs. Bunnies do not lay eggs. But yet they perpetuate that myth upon their children. So when the children grow up and they start going through high school, and say, for instance, like myself, coming across my economics teacher, and asking my economics teacher, how is it possible for the United States to be broke and we can print our own money?
Well, people aren't educated anymore, dude. People are dumbed down. Again, it dovetails back to what Charlotte Iserbyt.
She said it.
Did you ever see the Constitution test? Did you ever? It's from 1954. She's got the link. If you go to, I'll send you a link to it off air. But this test, dude. I took this test. I downloaded it, right? And I opened it up, and I took the test myself. Dude, I sat here one night for an hour trying to figure out the answers.
Pass it on.
And like extrapolating the answers to the test to today, because I had to you looked at it, it was like, who's the secretary of this, or who's in charge of that? I mean, literally, remember when you were in boot camp? Better representation, better visual. Remember in boot camp, we had to memorize the entire chain of command from the president all the way down to the lowly NCO that was in charge of us, right?
Secretary, yep.
Yeah, we had to know everything from everybody in between, from your drill instructor all the way up to the president of the United States.
Correct.
The civilians, the citizens, had to know this stuff. It wasn't just something that you learned in boot camp or that was, pushed down your throat. This was literally stuff that was everybody knew. And yet today, dude, I'm a smart guy and I failed the test. I couldn't answer every question. I was like, damn. I was sitting there trying to look at it and I was like, wow. I mean, not only, I think part of it was because, not because I'm dumb, but because I was dumbfounded by just how different the test was compared to even the stuff I took back in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, the test I took growing up, things were still different. I'm from the generation where I witnessed and grew up in the old school and witnessed this change to the new school. Right. And I got out just as things changed. I was out of the school system. And it's so different. I mean, but even from what I was taught, dude, I mean, this test, I got to send you a copy of it. You will, dude, I swear, Jerrald, you'll be like, holy crap. This is what they were taught?
The deliberate dumbing down of America. That's what she said. She said it's the deliberate dumb. But you got to remember, Popeye, in order for them to continue this scheme, they have to dumb us down. They can't keep getting away with it. And I mean, think about it. We have one of the highest, most educated civilizations that ever exist. There's so many people who are with college educations, with high school diplomas, but dumber than a box of rocks. The lack of
kids don't know anything anymore, dude. They don't learn anything anymore.
We don't want to be critical thinkers. We don't want to step outside the box.
Well, what did Rockefeller say? I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers, and that's exactly what he got. Because now, I told you the story about back when I lived in down in South Beach. I used to frequent this one restaurant. One of the greeters was this young girl. Long story short, she got out of. She just graduated high school, and her and the rest of the employees used to like to listen to some of the stuff that I would talk about with my friend that would go in there with me. And we'd give out free DVDs, and I'd give out flyers to the website and stuff. And we'd be talking, educating them and stuff. And she told me that they were taught, and I can't stress this enough, they at least her class was taught by her teacher that JFK died while he was in office. She was astonished to learn it was due in part to the fact that a big metal projectile entered the front of his noodle and came out the back and blew a big old hole in it. They weren't taught that. They were just taught that he died while he was in office. I mean, how do you glaze over the bullet going through his head? And that's something that everybody of a certain generation and of a certain age can remember. That's like 9/11. Where were you on 9/11? I could tell you exactly where I was. I could tell you a lot of things about that day. There's things that are etched in my memory and will forever be etched into my memory about that day. You know, and that's the same thing with the JFK assassination. Yet there's this generation of kids that don't know anything about that. And then now there's a generation of kids that don't even know what 9/11 is, dude. For real, there's kids, there's people that have no idea what 9/11 was or what happened on September 11th, 2001. Can you believe that? In 11 years, dude, they've dumbed that many people down.
Our attention spans are very short. Most people can't even remember what they did the week before. That's how short, because I mean, people out here they hustling. You know, either they working 2 or 3 jobs or the job that they have. They're working 12-hour shifts, and they're bogged down with either trying to refinance or get a modification on their mortgage, or what is it? They're taking the money, they're garnishing their wages straight out of their paycheck by the student debts, child support.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. If you owe money now, then they don't hesitate to go after your money, dude. They'll snatch that shit up quicker than you could blink, and you blink, and all of a sudden you're like, wow. So you work. I mean, I know guys that will work. They'll try to pull overtime, dude, and you know, because not because they're a bad parent, because it's child support or something. It could be something stupid because you know, they owe someone money for whatever reason. A lot of times it's student loans. So you can default on credit card debt.
Oh yeah.
You could default on your student loan too, but you can go bankrupt, I should say, on credit card debt, on a mortgage, on a lot of things. Yeah, medical, you know, credit card, all that. You can't go bankrupt and get rid of student loan that you. I got a question for you, state or the federal government.
I got a question for you. What do you think the bank's credit rating is if they had to be bailed out?
That's a good question. Well, their credit rating should be zilcho, but
exactly,
they're the ones with all the money.
But they still get the money at 0% interest. Yet when we default, our credit is screwed and you can't borrow nothing. If you do borrow, you got to go to one of these payday cash advances again that's owned by Bank of America.
How insane is that?
I'm gonna say this. It's not insane if you're inside with these people.
Well, that's true. It's not insane if you're on the receiving end of it and you're getting the money. I guess
if you're a rational thinker like you and I, that's insane. That's insanity. But
well, I mean, when you said before, would you say quadrillion or whatever the hell it was?
In 2007, Bloomberg put out an article on the global derivative market. It was $516 trillion that all the global banks were floating around. That's what was floating around. $516 trillion. 2007. 2008, the economy collapsed. 2010, you had all this stimulus going through. 2011, they took out the continent of Europe. They imposed
financial planners. They came from.
That's what the austerity measures are.
That's true. But again, austerity comes from the International Monetary Fund and is implemented by the World Bank and the UN. And anybody, all they had to do is Google IMF /Spain, IMF /Greece, IMF /Argentina. And what will pop up is a structural adjustment program that's instituted by this global institution.
Well, why do you think people are pissed off and rioting in Spain right now?
Because they don't comprehend. See, what's happening is the legislators or their parliaments are also bankers. Got to remember, they injected bankers to run all of those countries.
Lawyers and bankers, no good. No offense to any of the good lawyers out there, but
that's what they get. But they love to get the bankers from Goldman Sachs or the Bank of International Settlements from the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank.
Hey, Hillary Clinton, didn't she say she wants to run the World Bank?
Exactly.
Can you imagine putting that evil witch in the World Bank, dude? Oh, because my God.
They're not going to Google World Bank and go to their website and go to homepage, and they will tell you what they plan to do. But I just wish people would just understand what a structural adjustment program is, because that is what has been instituted in the United States. They are privatizing every industry. All public assets will be privatized. The people of Greece, every industry was privatized.
Yeah, I mean, water, everything.
Come on, Popeye.
What happens, bro, when they control the water supply? They can just shut your water off, and then what happens?
They want to. The water controls the power grid. They shut off everything. But the thing is, these bailouts are going to these banks, and the banks are giving the money to their friends to go buy these properties, these public assets for zero. And again, they get the money at 0% interest. Now, me and you go put our money in a bank. It's not even, they barely giving you 1% interest. We go borrow some money, and they talking about 5, 10, 15. Don't have a credit card because you're talking about 30% interest. But they get the borrow at 0%. So they can go
after the kids with the credit cards too, because kids think it's cool to have a credit card. You know, I'm 16, I have a credit card, and then by the time you're 20, you have to live with your parents because you have $15,000 in debt you have to pay off. Because when you were younger, you were an idiot and you made decisions that you shouldn't be making.
But again, that's America right now. Every kid that's graduating now, they back home with their mom and daddy, and mom and daddy damn about to lose their home because they bought a home. They refinanced.
Yeah, they refinanced to send the kid to school.
Come on, man. And now the home is upside down. Now, Bank of America telling you they ain't even answering the phone when you call them trying to get a modification.
You know what kills me is people think that they can work things out with Bank of America. And they're like, well, they'll be nice to me. Dude, they take people's homes that don't even belong to them. Do you think they give a rat's ass about helping you out? They really don't at the end of the day.
Well, that's the new policy. The Federal Reserve came out with it in January of 2012 that what they need to do now, since all the banks now have all the mortgages, really, the Federal Reserve owns all the mortgages in the United States, that the new way now is rent. We're going to rent the home to you. After we foreclose on it, we're going to allow you to stay up and allow you to rent.
Oh, that's nice. So, look, we're not putting people out on the streets. We're just taking their home from them that they actually worked for and stuff, and then we're going to go ahead and turn around and we're going to rent it back to them. Epic scumbaggery. And with that, the end of the show comes up on us. Jerrald, there's never enough time with you, brother. I'm going to have to get you back on sooner than later. Go ahead and plug your website really quick. We got about 20 seconds.
Again, that's www.jerraldpresident.info // or you can hit me up on Facebook at Jerrald President. Also, you can hit me on my YouTube page at Jerrald President. One word, Jerrald President. Thank you, Popeye.